Start with this introduction to linguistics and language. And in the last class, we discussed how rich in meaning this word linguistics is. And there are so many meanings which are associated with this word linguistics. So we discussed the word formation of this word linguistics, and we found that lingua, which means tongue in Italian language, that is also the part of the word linguistics. We discussed how the word linguist has more than two meanings, and we discussed that if a word that has more than two meanings or more than one meaning, that word is known as ambiguous word. So one meaning of linguist is polyglot, and polyglot is a person who speaks more than one language. So in a way, all of us are polyglot, but this meaning is not interest to us, but we are more interested in the second meaning. And the second meaning of the word linguist is someone, a person who studies languages scientifically. So what we will do in this course, we will study languages scientifically. So we will qualify this meaning, you will qualify this meaning as well, that you are a linguist. And how you are a linguist? Because you are studying languages scientifically, and you are already polyglot, because all of us, all of you speak more than one language. So that meaning is also the part of linguistics. And we have discussed that linguistics is also a discipline. What is a discipline? Discipline is a field of study. Now we can define this discipline in various ways. So we have a two-word definition. And what is this two-word definition? Linguistics is a language science, or we can also say linguistics is a science of language. But we need to define properly in a sentence, then we will say linguistics is a scientific study of language. All these three definitions are valid, but one is in a sentence form, another is in a form, and when it comes to two-word definition, then it is in the compound form that we have. Now, when the question arises that what linguistics does, that means what do we do in linguistics, or what are the areas of studies in linguistics? Because we have defined that linguistics analyzes scientifically. And what are those things that linguistics analyzes scientifically? We discussed there are certain forms that are related to language form. There are certain things which are related to language meaning, and there are certain things which are related to language in context. So in a way, we have three separate things, three separate field of studies through which we can analyze language scientifically. So in language form, we have three subdivisions, and one is phonetics and phonology, morphology, and syntax. So phonetics and phonology, morphology, and syntax, they are responsible for the language form. When we question how language is formed, then the answer is language is formed because it has elements which are related to phonetics and phonology, morphology, and syntax. But we also use language in our day-to-day interaction. And when we use language in our day-to-day interaction, then we are more interested in the meaning part. We are not interested in how language is formed, but we are interested in how meaning is conveyed. And that thing is studied in semantics. But something that we say, or something that is said, it is always in a context, it is always in a situation. So it is not the case that you say something out of context. You can say many things out of context, but if you need to be sensible, if you need to be meaningful, if you need to be the part of a fruitful effective communication, then you need to say something in context. And what is the context? It is studied under pragmatics. So these are the things that we have studied in the last class, and we have studied their definitions, and their definitions are simple, because most of the words, they either end with ics suffix or they end with logy. And we have already discussed that the meaning of ics suffix is the scientific study of. At the same time, the meaning of logy is also the scientific study of. So let's say when we talk about phonetics, so we can say phonetics is the scientific study of phone. And what is the meaning of phone? The meaning of phone is sound. So if you want to define semantics, then we can say semantics is the scientific study of meaning. If we want to define pragmatics, then we can say pragmatic is the scientific study of language in context. If we need to define phonology, we will say phonology is the scientific study of word formation processes. So there are different word formation processes through which we can make a word. For example, one general process is ED. Now, you know that most of the words in the English language, if you put ed, they will become past or past participle. For example, talk. Talk is a verb, and when I attach ed, then it becomes talked in the past, and past participle form is also talked. Now, this is word formation process. So we can very easily guess that many words, because we find that many words in English language, they have ed ending in past and past participle form. But at the same time, we know that there are certain words, they are made in past and past participle form without ed. For example, teach, taught, taught. Now these two forms are same, but there is no ed. So that is also the part of word formation process. So when we study morphology, then we will study how these processes they take place. And when it comes to syntax, though in this word there is no ics and logy in the end, but we can define syntax when words they come along together and they make a phrase or a clause or as a sentence. So like, a phrase is a small unit without a verb, a clause can have a verb, and in a sentence it has a verb as well as more than one verb is possible in a sentence. But at the same time, in a sentence it is a complete meaningful whole. That is the difference between clause and sentence. All these things we will study gradually when we proceed further, but here I am just giving you a bird eye view. I am just providing you a view through which you you can look at that these are interesting things, these are the part of language, and language that you speak. So it is not something something alien, something strange, but it is very much part of us, because language is very much part of us. We use language in day-to-day interaction. We use language when we talk to each other. When we read a novel, when we read a newspaper, what we are doing, we are actually using language. So language is very much a part of us, but still we take it for granted that okay, everyone knows language, language is a part of us, we know language, how to speak it. But here we will do a careful and scientific study that is different from the common sense knowledge that we have of a language. So you will be an informed person about language, and someone who is an informed person about language, that person is a linguist. So by the end of the course you will also become a linguist, and when you talk about language, then you will keep these things in your mind. So what do we mean by scientific? Though we have already discussed, but still I need that it is to be defined properly. A linguist attempts to study language in much the same way as a scientist studies physics or chemistry. That means objectively. We observe language objectively. It is not the case that we are prejudiced. It is not the case that that we talk about language in a manner a literary person is making. For example, a literary person can say that I like this poem, but I do not like this poem. So this liking, disliking, or making priority for this sentence and not for this sentence, that is not the part of a linguist. So some people say that French is a beautiful language, English is bit harsh. So this type of statement is not made by a linguist. For for a linguist, all languages are same. All languages are equal. We will not make such type of claim as a linguist that all languages they have evolved from Sanskrit. Now many people they believe that all the languages that are spoken in this world they have come out, they have evolved from Sanskrit language. Now it is a fallacy. It is not it is not truth. So it is a fallacy, but many people believe. So many people believe, it doesn't mean that something will become true. So we need to study something objectively, we need to study something scientifically. So this is the meaning of this sentence: a linguist attempts to study language in much the same way as a scientist study physics or chemistry. That is systematically without prejudice. So how this entire thing is taken into consideration, how we can remove prejudice. Prejudice is liking and disliking. That is known as prejudice. So first we observe language use. Now who use language? Language speakers. Like you are language speaker, I am language speaker. So language speakers, they use language. So we observe them. It is not observing like we are sitting on a chair and they are talking and we are listening to them. But we are making notes that what they are speaking. We are writing carefully that which type of sounds, words they are making. So we are recording them. We are asking questions. We are preparing questionnaires. So this way we are observing language use. So language use is not in like you are just sitting in a field and like people are talking and then you are simply observing. You observe language wherever it is used. For example, a certain phrase you notice on national television, then you find, okay, this is my data. You are watching a movie or a web series and you observe there is one specific use, that is also the part of your observation. For example, nowadays lots of web series are there. Let's say Mirzapur 2, Mirzapur 1, before that Sacred Games. So one of my student last semester, your senior, now she is a passing out student. So she worked on the abuses and taboo words used in Sacred Games. So if you have got a chance to watch Sacred Games, then you might have noticed that so many abuses are there and so many taboo words. Taboo words are those type of words that we cannot use in society, but we use generally with our close friends. You can't use those words with your parents, but you can use with your very close associates. So those abuses, those taboo words, they are in huge number. If you watch Mirzapur 2 or if you watch, let's say, Sacred Games, then you will find there are many. So that candidate, that girl, she worked on the taboo words that are used. Now taboo words, they are related to relations. So abuses which are related to mother, sister, fine, father. So that is one type of categorization she did. Another type of categorization is, let's say, the abusive words, they are related to biology, body part. So that is another observation. So likewise we have different type of categorizations. So certain words are swear words, fine. So that thing she did in her dissertation. So you will also write your dissertation in fourth semester. Now you are in first semester. So this is how we observe language use. So language use is anywhere, everywhere where language is used. Then we form a hypothesis. Hypothesis is generally a formal statement. What is the hypothesis we can make? Hypothesis is general statement, as I said. So let's say we take the same example of abuses and taboo words. So we can make a general statement that abuses and taboo words are are more used by boys than girls, adult boys than girls. So this type of hypothesis we can make. So hypothesis we can make. Hypothesis is very general. It depends upon our understanding, how we observe society, how we observe people, how we observe language, how we observe a situation. So we can make a hypothesis. And let's say you want to check this hypothesis because you have made a statement that boys, adult boys, they make uh, more, they use more abusive word than girls. Now you want to check this hypothesis, whether this hypothesis is correct or not. Now the entire population of India is like more than 100 crores. So how, where can you check? So you need to select specific people, specific data. Even the entire Jammu students or boys and girls, you can't. So you need to make your analysis based on the data, based on the field site that you need to select. So for example, you want to select students who are studying in Shri Mata at Shri Mata Vaishno Devi University, and then you can further specify that students who are the part of masters, or students who are the part of masters, MTech, MBA, that type of, you can check the hypothesis. And then you can ask them questions like, have you ever used any abuse in your life? Then obviously they will say yes. Then which abuse do you use so often? Then they will tell, okay, this specific abuse I use so often. So likewise, you collect data of 100 people, 200 people, 500 people, and then later on when you analyze, then you can check whether the hypothesis that you have taken, that boys, they speak more abuses than girls, is correct or not. So that is known as testing hypothesis and refining them. And if you find no, nowadays like system has changed, girls are using more abusive language than boys, then that is the result. So this is the meaning of scientific. That what do we mean by the word scientific? So this is how you work on language. So language has immense potential that you can work on. So you can find out many different subjects that is used in language. So just you need to be closely observing language use. For example, we are observing this two data. Fine. Now again we are observing data. How? Like one is a good man. This is a phrase, a good man, a noun phrase. So you have a as an article, good is your adjective, and man is your noun. A good man. We use this type of phrase. It's quite general, quite common. Then we use another, a dead tree. Again, same type of article, adjective, and noun. Now, now we are forming the hypothesis. We have only this data. A good man is one and a dead tree is another. Now we are in the process of forming or formulation of a hypothesis. So after looking at these two phrases, these two noun phrases, we can form a hypothesis. And what is that hypothesis? Adjective always precedes noun. So we can say adjective always precedes noun. After looking at this data, only 1 and 2, a good man and a dead tree. Now we need to test this hypothesis, whether this hypothesis is correct. So we look for more language data. And now we are looking for more language data. So we have one more sentence. The man is good. The tree is dead. Now, what is our hypothesis? Adjective always precedes noun. Now here what is happening? Adjective is not preceding noun. Noun is man and adjective good is coming after noun. Adjective is dead and noun is tree, and adjective is coming after tree. That means our hypothesis is not correct. So we need to revise our hypothesis. So how we can revise our hypothesis? When we have more language data. So adjectives do not precede the nouns, they modify. Fine. So like here in such type of sentences, adjectives do not precede the nouns, they modify. So here we have different type of data. Let's absorb more data. Life everlasting, mission impossible, mission impossible. is also a name of a Hollywood movie, and it's quite a famous movie. So we can observe more data, and through this process we can continuously revise our hypothesis, test our hypothesis whether this hypothesis is correct or not. So we can refine our hypothesis. Adjectives in English are used in two main ways. What are those two main ways? Attributively. That means if an adjective is coming before noun, that is known as attributively. And if it is following a verb, so it is a following a verb here. The man is good. So is your verb and good is your adjective. That means adjective is following verb. Tree is dead. Here it is not tree is good, but tree is dead, because we are taking the previous example. The tree is dead. So again, adjective is following verb. So we can say that adjectives, they are used in English in two main ways: attributively before noun, predicatively following a verb. And if you have more data, for example, court martial, attorney general, now these are also certain words that we use in day-to-day terms. Court martial. Now court martial is generally a process in army. Attorney general is an important post that we have in politics and in the government. So we can say a finite number of borrowed adjectives follow the noun they modify. Fine. Because here the martial is the adjective and court is the noun. But what is happening? There are certain adjectives, they are following, but they are finite in number. Finite means they are limited in number, they are not more in number. And this thing is happening only in the uh, borrowed term. From where they are borrowed? There is a possibility that they are borrowed from Italian language, fine, French language, German language, because English has borrowed so many words from different languages. So here we find that it is not martial court, but it is court martial. It is not attorney, journal attorney, but it is attorney journal. So we can say a finite number of borrowed adjectives follow the noun they modify. So this is also the process of refining hypothesis. This is the meaning of the word scientific that we have, that how we can refine our hypothesis, how we can test our hypothesis whether it is correct or not. And when can we refine our hypothesis? When we are observing large data. It is not simply 2 sentences or 200 sentences, but a large corpus. Corpus means the number of utterances or sentences that are the part of. So dictionary, for example, you have English dictionary. So English dictionary is also the part of a corpus. In English dictionary, you will find thousands of words, and not only thousands of words, but their usages, how those words are used in a meaningful, in a sense, and they make a perfect sense to us. We know that how this word can be used in real life situation. So that is again the part of dictionary, is also the part of a corpus that we have. So we can only check our hypothesis, we can only test our hypothesis, we can only refine our hypothesis when we have large data, large language data that we have. Now, when we talk about language, then we need to understand that our mind, so human mind is a sophisticated translating machine. Now, brain is a biological organ, but cognition is the part of mind, how we cognize things, how we perceive things. For example, you are using language. So this is because you have a mind. Fine, it's not simply a brain, but you have a mind. So because of that mind, you are able to produce. And what we are actually producing, what am I actually producing? I am simply producing sound waves. Sound waves, because air that is in my lungs, that is coming out, and I am just using my mouth to modify those that air. And because of that modification, my sound waves, they are recognized as sound, speech sounds to you, because your ear, they are filtering those sound waves, and you are not hearing simply a sound, but you are hearing speech sound. You recognize that I am speaking certain words, I am speaking certain sentences. This is how this thing happens. And then not only you are recognizing speech sound, but you are very well aware that how you can segregate them or how you can make sense them in the form of words, phrases, or sentences. And those words, phrases, and sentences, they are later on understood. They are understood as meaningful thoughts and ideas. So this is how the entire process starting from sound waves is understood as meaningful thoughts and ideas uh, is happening, it's going on. So we can say that human mind is a sophisticated translating machine. So it is translating sound waves into meaningful thoughts and ideas. So how wonderful it is. If you look at this entire process, I am simply producing air. The air is coming out from my lungs, and I'm just modifying that air through my larynx. Fine. Larynx is like vocal box, like this voice box is there, vocal fold I have in this voice box, and I'm modifying. And through my mouth, like sometimes I'm closing my lips, sometimes I'm raising my tongue, sometimes I'm doing other type of modification inside my mouth, and I'm just making those sound waves into speech sounds. But it is also quite a sophisticated system that you have in your ears, that you are able to segregate those speech sounds into different words, phrases, and sentences. So I'll stop here, and this is for the day. And if you have any doubt, then you can ask what we have discussed today.